Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith in the studios of our flagship station, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, today we're also on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99 in Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills, Bloomfield Township, and nearby areas on Birmingham Area Municipal Access. You can also join us on Channel 10 and AT&T Channel 99 in places such as Waterford, on the Media Network of Waterford, and on Orion Neighborhood Television in Lake Orion and Orion Township. Join us on the radio, 88.1 WBFH, the BIF. That is a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District, operating out of Bloomfield Hills High School on Long Lake Road, east of Telegraph, west of Telegraph, whichever direction it is. It's fine. I try to tell you directions and then I just lose it. It's okay. We're also online, civiccentertv.com. Click on our Watch Live link and you can view us live 10 a.m. to 12 noon. You can also find us on demand on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. Also online on our Facebook pages, Civic Center TV 15 and Lakes FM. You can join us on My Michigan TV, serving the entire state of Michigan with content from all across the Great Lakes state by people right here in Michigan at mymytv.com. And you can learn more information about all of our partnering television, radio, and web outlets, as well as I said, find all of our full shows and interviews on demand at civiccentertv.com/megacast. Then on our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, helpful links are included from the CDC, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division to help keep you up to date on everything that you need to know about COVID-19, especially now when the age of the Omicron variant, while we're still dealing with the Delta variant and still dealing with people believing that the precautions that we can take against COVID-19 don't work. When we use them, they've worked. But hey, you know what? Learn why that's the case, why they work, when they don't work, we have excessive spread of COVID-19 from experts, not from your uncle on Facebook. He doesn't know. He just doesn't know. He's not a doctor. He's not a virologist. He's not an epidemiologist. These guys are. CDC, MDHHS, Oakland County Health Division. They know stuff. Learn from them. You can find those resources, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. And we also post our top headlines each and every day to keep you up to date on news, not only on the COVID-19 front, but also on other important stories affecting our local area here in Oakland County and all of us across the state of Michigan. Continuing with our updates on the situation in Oxford and throughout Oakland County following the school shooting on Tuesday, our first story today, a slew of copycat threats across Metro Detroit region troubled administrators and parents on Thursday and still today. This is from the Detroit Free Press. Waves of chaos continued to descend upon Metro Detroit on Thursday, 2 days after a rampage at Oxford High School that left 4 students dead and 7 others injured. With copycat threats circulating on social media, districts in Oakland County and beyond canceled classes out of caution for students' safety. Law enforcement leaders continue to emphasize the severity with which they will pursue all reports of threats. But beyond the goose chase of threats and social media rumors of a quote-unquote hit week, are parents who are walking a fine line of ensuring their children's security without affecting their kids' mental and emotional health. Quote, "I feel like I was going to throw up," said Jill Dillon, 51, of Canton, recalling dropping off her 14-year-old son to school on Wednesday morning. She continued, quote, "It was nauseating, thinking that I'm supposed to be taking him someplace safe, and is he really going to be safe?" Quote, "When something happens this close to home, it brings it closer to your heart and makes you really wonder, how safe are we?" Administrators nationwide, even globally, have been stretched thin for nearly 2 years between keeping students healthy during a pandemic and devastating staffing shortages. And now Michigan educators are having to face guiding students through another crisis, not to mention the long-term lasting impact that it has on students. A flood of threats across the region was so far-reaching, with some being suspicious posts online, others tangible. On Thursday, a 17-year-old Southfield student with a semi-automatic pistol was arrested, and a bomb threat was made at South Lake High School, prompting a police investigation. Yesterday, Sheriff Michael Bouchard of the Oakland County Sheriff was joined by County Executive David Coulter, as well as County Prosecutor Karen McDonald, and officials from Oakland schools, as well as the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office, to hold a press conference regarding these copycat threats, where he was very pointed and very adamant, saying, quote, "If you're making threats, we are going to find you. It is ridiculous. You're inflaming the fears and passion of parents, students, and the community in the midst of a real tragedy, end close quote. Sheriff Bouchard said the pursuit of threats has exhausted his office's resources, but they will continue nonetheless, and said that he has enlisted the assistance of the FBI and the Secret Service to tackle these threats. This week has been the most challenging for FBI Special Agent Tim Waters, who has worked in the community for 21 years, he said during Thursday's press conference. In Macomb County, Prosecutor Peter Lucido echoed Sheriff Bouchard's sentiments in a promise to prosecute threats to the fullest extent, saying, quote, anyone thinking of issuing such a threat should know that as Macomb County prosecutor, I have a zero-tolerance policy when it comes to issuing terroristic threats against our schools, and if you do so, you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of a law, he said in a statement from his office on Thursday. Despite the influx of threats, prosecutors encouraged residents to direct reports of threats to their offices, not to post them on social media. It's the confusion of what's real and what's not that's the scariest for 14-year-old David Roden, a freshman at Northville High School, which stayed open on Thursday. Quote, everyone was on edge. It's just kind of weird being close to the situation, he said, continuing, because it's never been close to home. But this one's closer than they or school shootings have ever been, end close quote. His social media sphere is flooded with rumors of more shootings, Snapchat screenshots, and blurry Instagram stories promising that Tuesday's horror was just the beginning. But teachers are having open conversations in his classes, helping him and his classmates to parse the confirmed facts from the fake. David's mom, Jody, said that she used to worry about her kids reaching school safely with her daughter, 16-year-old Emily, behind the wheel. It's sad that you're nervous sending them off to school and hoping that the person sitting next to them isn't the person that could, do something to them, she said, laughing nervously. That article from the Detroit Free Press posted on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Last night, also, the Oxford Community Schools superintendent had posted a video, an update on the school district operations and their plan for recovery in Oxford going forward following Tuesday's events. This is from the Associated Press via the Oakland Press. A teenager accused of killing 4 students at an Oakland County high school was called to the office before the shooting, but, quote, no discipline was warranted, end close quote, said the superintendent Thursday in his first extended remarks since the tragedy. Tim Thorne, the leader of Oxford Community Schools, said that Oxford High School looks like, quote, a war zone, end close quote, and won't be ready for several weeks to reopen. But he repeatedly credited students and staff for how they responded to the violence on Tuesday. In the video, he said, quote, to say that I am still in shock and numb is probably an understatement. These events that have occurred will not define us. In a 12-minute video that we will post or repost on our Civic Center TV social media, including our Facebook page and our Twitter page, so that you can view it in full. Thorne continued, quote, I want you to know that there's been a lot of talk about the student who was apprehended, that he was called up to the office and all that kind of stuff. No discipline was warranted, Thorne said, continuing, there are no discipline records at the high school. Yes, this student did have contact with our front office, and yes, his parents were on campus on November 30th, end close quote. Thorne said he could not immediately release additional details. Oakland County Sheriff Mike Bouchard said Crumbly's classroom behavior was a concern on the day of the shooting. In his remarks, the superintendent, however, said he was asking the sheriff's office to publicly release school video from Tuesday as much as the sheriff's office would be willing to do so. Quote, I want you to be proud of your sons and daughters, as I am, Thorne said in his video as well. Early on Thursday, the Oakland County prosecutor repeated her criticism of the shooter's parents, saying that their actions went, quote, far beyond negligence, end closed quote, and that a charging decision would come by Friday. That press conference yesterday with the sheriff and many other officials from Oakland County was held at 4 p.m. In that press conference, when asked about the potential of charges being brought against the shooter's parents, both his mother and his father, prosecutor Karen McDonald did say that her office was anticipating announcing any charges that may or may not come against those two to be made within 24 hours. So we are expecting that to be announced today, one way or another. Parents in the U.S. are rarely charged in school shootings involving their children, even as most minors get guns from a parent's or a relative's house, according to experts. There's no Michigan law that requires gun owners to keep weapons locked away from children. McDonald, however, suggests there's more to build a case on. Quote, all I can say at this point is that those actions on mom and dad's behalf go far beyond negligence, she told WJR radio. We obviously are prosecuting the shooter to the fullest extent. There are other individuals who should also be held accountable, and closed quote. Both parents did not return a message left by the Associated Press to comment in this article. The sheriff disclosed on Wednesday that the parents met with school officials about their son's classroom behavior just a few hours before the shooting. And the student stayed in school on Tuesday and a couple hours later emerged from a bathroom with a gun, then beginning to fire at students in the hallway, according to police reports. Just over half of the U.S. states have child access prevention laws related to guns, but they vary widely. Gun control advocates say the laws are often not enforced and the penalties are too weak. View this full article from the Oakland Press and learn more about yesterday's press conference and keep up to date by visiting our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Lastly, it's the way we come together. Oxford finds unity after tragedy. This is from the Detroit News. A little girl in a pink fleece arrived at the memorial to 4 dead children Thursday afternoon, just as a woman in a pink parka was easing out of her car. The little girl laid flowers at the sign at the entrance of Oxford High School's parking lot, and then she drew her hands back inside her sleeves so that they flapped wildly as she jumped up and down in excitement over being part of something that she didn't understand. The woman laid a bouquet atop some of the others, lingered only for a minute, and then walked away, wiping her eyes with the heel of her hand. She understood too well what happened, even if no one understands why. A 15-year-old student stands accused of shooting 10 of his fellow students and a teacher on Tuesday at just about the same time the other 2 mourners in pink were paying their respects. He is locked away currently at the Oakland County Jail in Pontiac alone, accused of killing 4 fellow students. In Oxford, there was a sense Thursday that everyone was united. Quote, we can't be judged by one goofball, said Amanda McFarland, searching for a word and finding one far more playful than what she really meant. Quote, it's the way we come together afterward, and close quote. McFarland, 35, owns Valor Salon in the city's small downtown. She graduated from Oxford High in 2004 when it was housed in what is now the middle school, and she's the mother of a 3rd, 5th, and 7th grader in the district as well. Quote, I love the small town feel, she said. She loves being surrounded by people who've known her since she was born and loves knowing that people were expecting her salon team to do a crazy dance even wilder than the one last Saturday in the annual Christmas parade. Maybe next year, the parade and the Friday night soup and sweets stroll through downtown have been canceled, replaced instead by a 6:30 p.m. prayer vigil half a block from her shop. The light poles along the strip already bore wide ribbons Thursday in blue and gold, the colors at the high school. Placards had sprouted in yards. Thank you, teachers and first responders. #Oxford Strong. At the Meijer store, where bewildered students reunited with their frantic parents on Tuesday in the hours after the shooting, the parking lot was crowded. Along one aisle, 3 cars in a 5-space span bore stickers asking motorists to be patient with their student drivers. Inside, a teenage boy with a small bouquet in one hand was using the other to punch buttons on an ATM. His friend said, do you need to borrow money? The friend was carrying flowers of his own. They were headed to the school where 2 Oakland County deputies in separate SUVs watched clusters of kids stand quietly near the sign along Oxford Road that has since become a shrine to those lost on Tuesday. Flowers, stuffed animals, balloons, candles, a gold angel in a snow globe, and tears. Dan Hooker, 59, of Livonia, stood with them in a fluorescent yellow vest marked Chaplain. The kids generally weren't saying much. Neither was he. Quote, it's mostly, how are you holding up? Hooker said. Most of them have very few words, and closed quote. Hooker, a retired General Motors powertrain engineer, is a volunteer with the Billy Graham Rapid Response Team. He's been to hurricanes, fires, and floods, but this was his first mass shooting. Across 24 years as an Oakland County deputy, Lee Van Camp has been more accustomed to violence. Thursday, he experienced something entirely new. A man with 2 small children approached his black and gold SUV and introduced the kids. Their mother, the dad explained, works at the school. The kids thanked him and presented him with a sack lunch. How amazing is that? Van Camp asked. As darkness set, about 200 people attended a candlelight vigil in neighboring Lake Orion, honoring those who died and were wounded on Tuesday at Oxford High School. Lake Orion High School students Hadley Soko, Lila Bonner, and Layla Thompson, all 15, lit candles at the event in Children's Park. The two high schools are separated by only about 7 miles. Quote, "It's very tragic and traumatizing toward all other people, not just those in Oxford, but towards the whole community," Soka said of Tuesday's shooting. Added Thompson, quote, "Schools should be a safe place to learn. You shouldn't be scared to go," she said. As the vigil was beginning, the U.S. House of Representatives took a break from their partisan deliberations to hold a moment of silence for those victims at Oxford High School. U.S. Representative Elissa Slotkin, the Holly Democrat whose district represents Oxford, requested a moment of silence as she was surrounded by Michigan and other colleagues. Let's see, where is that? Quote, "Mr. Speaker, this has been one of the darkest and most painful weeks our state of Michigan has had in recent memory," Slotkin said on the House floor, continuing, "We stand here, the Michigan delegation of Democrats and Republicans, along with honorary Michiganders, to ask Congress to recognize that pain and ask members here to see your own children in the pictures of those who were lost in yet another school shooting. In less than 5 minutes, the small town of Oxford, Michigan was changed forever when a gunman opened fire on his fellow students. In that momentary flash, 4 innocent teenagers, students with their entire lives ahead of them, were taken from us in yet another senseless act of violence," end closed quote. That full article from the Detroit News posted on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll get the show started. We'll be joined by the Oakland University Ethics Bowl team. Their coach, Lisa Campbell, and team president, Erika Luft, will join us next on the show. At 10:40, Metro Detroit musician Jill Jack will join us. And we'll kick off the 11 o'clock hour with the mayor of Troy, Ethan Baker. Then we'll be joined by Maggie Coco from Girls Rock Detroit, a local 501c3 nonprofit, and we'll cap off the show at 11:40 with a brief interview with U.S. Senator Gary Peters. That's all coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's a second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft here in our studios in West Bloomfield Township, although we're broadcasting all throughout the state of Michigan on our website at civiccentertv.com and on My Michigan TV, as well as a number of different community television, radio, and other media outlets here in the Oakland County area. Learn more information about everywhere that we broadcast by joining us on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining us now from Oakland University is the Ethics Bowl team coach Lisa Campbell and team president Erika Luft with us now on the Megacast. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
So, let's start with you, Coach Campbell. Tell us a little bit about Ethics Bowl team. What is the Ethics Bowl team, and what kind of competitions does the team participate in?
Ethics Bowl is a combination of a lot of different things that have come together and has only been around about 18 years now. And it is a combination of debate, of critical thinking, of a meeting of the minds, if you will. It's sort of a group of students who have decided to look beyond the surface of different case studies that they're presented with and to explore just what's the right thing to do. And critically thinking, they dive very deep into each case study to really get the background and really figure out where their attention really does lie and what they feel the right thing to do for each situation is.
So, Erika, your team recently competed in a regional competition debating 6 different various topics. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those topics and what went in to competing against other Ethics Bowl teams across the local area, across the region as well?
Yeah, that's right. Some of the cases that we presented were on issues such as keeping invasive species as pets, the filibuster, homelessness, and vaccine patents. They're very wide topics covered. And basically what we had to do in preparation, we actually had to prepare, I think, 12 cases. Is that right, Lisa? And basically every practice, we did mock rounds. We were given a question by Lisa and had to give a 7 to 10 minute speech. And we were separated into teams and we were basically questioned by the rest of our classmates.
So then when you're preparing for this, Erika, because you have a number of different topics, because you're not really sure, or you may be sure in some cases, I don't know, going in what topics you're going to be discussing or you're going to have to debate as a team at these competitions, how do you approach, or how does your team approach then the preparation for that? Are you just going through, like you said, a variety of different topics? Are each member of your team then going through each of those topics? Are you assigning certain people? How does that work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we assign like a team captain to each case. Lisa calls it our quarterback. They're effectively the one that leads the moral discussion of the case. They do the bulk of the writing as well. And then other team members are assigned to that case in peripheral roles. In competition, we actually don't know which of the specific cases are going to get called. There's always a few that don't end up being called. And also, we don't know which ones we are going to have to speak on. Some cases we just do commentary, and then some cases we do the presentation.
We're joined by Oakland University Ethics Bowl team coach Lisa Campbell, as well as, team president Erika Luft, with us today on the Megacast. And so, Coach Campbell, your title of coach of the Ethics Bowl team, what does that entail? Because you have the members of the team that are ultimately going to be competing. They need to build those arguments. They need to be able to be prepared to present them. So you as a coach, how are you helping the members of this team prepare and then execute their plan in a way that makes them competitive against other teams across the region, across the state, and across the country?
Typically, we have 2 coaches, and unfortunately, this semester we only had 1 because our other coach was on sabbatical. But I'm from the communications department as well as the philosophy department, and so I help the students construct the arguments, and I basically guide them in which direction and ask them questions that force them to look at their own perceptions of what the right thing is to do. And then when they practice their cases, I ask questions that might get them to think about tangential elements of the case or something that might be brought up that maybe nobody talked about when we were practicing and discussing which way we were going to go. I also help them and basically guide them. They do most of the research in terms of which moral argument are they following? For example, are they looking at a utilitarian type of design for their argument? Are they looking more at deontology, like do we have a duty to protect these species, for example, in the species case? And then I take care of all the administration, the things that have to be put through the college and how we get there and how we travel and getting assigned with the different regions and basically all the admin that nobody wants to take care of.
So, Erika, for you, how did you get involved with Ethics Bowl? What led you to it, and how ultimately did you make the decision that this was something you wanted to be involved in?
Yeah, so I took an intro to logic class my first semester of college, and the professor let me know that there was an Ethics Bowl team. I had no idea what it was. And so he recommended that I try out. And then the following summer I did. And thankfully I got on. And this is my second year doing it. I was on the team last year. And yeah, now I'm the president.
So we'll start with you, Erika, but this is a question for both you and for Lisa. Something important in debate, especially when you're on an Ethics Bowl team, you're debating topics that are related to policy, that are related to ethics, especially being that it's the Ethics Bowl that is the team you're on. How important is it to prepare for not just debate, but for civil debate, for educated debate, and for an open debate as well that isn't going to divulge into a shouting match or a he said, she said kind of a situation?
Yeah, I think that's actually something that we're graded on within competition, that we have to remain civil, and it's more of an open discussion. And we're definitely trained on how to speak that way in preparation.
And Lisa,
when you approach an issue from various educated sides, we spend months looking into the issue. It's really hard for debate to go awry.
And so, Lisa, in terms of helping prepare them for it, because a lot of these issues can strike a nerve with people. They can be something that someone is very passionate about one way or another, from one perspective or another. You as a coach and your other fellow coaches as well, how do you approach coaching students that are on the Ethics Bowl team to engage in civil debates, no matter how strongly they feel one way or another about any given topic?
It definitely can get some passions aroused, and we've had different cases throughout the years. For example, we had a case about a professor who was at a party in blackface, and you can imagine that generated a bit of discussion. And so part of the coaching involves how do you ask your opponents, if you will, or the other team that you're having a civil discussion with, how do you not sound accusatory, but how do you offer constructive criticism, such as, well, we agree with your answer, but we don't necessarily agree with how you got there. Have you considered? And part of that is using language that tones down not necessarily the passion, but the argumentativeness of it. It's supposed to be a discussion that unearths more commentary and unearths more opinions, not, as you say, devolves and de-evolves into a shouting match.
So your team recently finished third in the regionals. You by then have qualified for the National Ethics Bowl tournament. Tell us about the scoring of that. Lisa, let's have you do this. Tell us about how those competitions are scored and what it takes for a team like the Oakland University Ethics Bowl team to qualify for the national tournament.
There's a score sheet that the students are aware of, and so they know specifically what criteria the judges are looking for. They're looking for, first of all, how organized and systematic is your argument? Are you presenting things in a logical flow that people can follow and your ideas aren't all over the place and not able to be constructed logically? They're judged on the ability to present a central moral issue. For example, the cases might have quite a bit going on in the background, but what is the central moral issue of the case? They need to identify that. They also need to identify if there were other issues or other ways of looking at the case and why they chose not to take that train of thought, but why they chose the approach that they did. When they offer commentary to another team, which you present one in each round, you present once and you offer commentary once. So when they are graded on their commentary, they're graded not only upon their cordialness and how thorough they are, but did they explore the other team's approach in ways that perhaps the other team missed, and we found more depth or more breadth to the ideas that they were being conveyed at the time.
We're joined by Coach Lisa Campbell and Team President Erika Luft from the Oakland University Ethics Bowl team joining us today on the Megacast. And so, Erika, in other teams at Oakland University and at other universities and colleges and in sports and in clubs, there are rivalries between schools or between teams. Does that exist in Ethics Bowl as well? And if so, who are your rivals?
I think it does a little bit if you've been on the team a little bit longer than I have. Lisa will often mention teams that have competed in competition and that we have a little bit of a rivalry with. I think U of D Mercy is one. The University of Michigan has competed in the past, although I don't think I've competed against them personally. I am relatively a new member, so maybe we'll have another team rivalry go on as I've gotten more experience on the team.
And so, Lisa, I'll give you the same question as well. Erika mentioned that there are some rivalries that were kind of pointed as maybe being a rivalry, maybe not, from the coaching staff. Can you explain maybe if there are any or teams that you're closely competing with on a regular basis?
Regularly, we run into the same teams because we're grouped as a geographic region. Mm-hmm. And so U of D Mercy is one of the schools that we had often seen in the past. Unfortunately, they haven't been with us the last year. I'm not really sure why. Funding does affect everybody. We also run into Grand Valley State quite often and Bowling Green, which is where I did my postgraduate work. So, of course, I've gotten to know their coach, and there's a little bit of a rivalry there. And basically teams from the Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio region that we've run into consistently are what you would think of as being our main competition, or if you would, a little bit of a rival. Teams that we've never run into before, we're always curious. For example, University of Cincinnati competed last year for the very first time and won the whole thing, the whole nationals. And everybody, of course, is really geared up to make sure that doesn't happen again on their second time around.
So, Erika, if other students at Oakland University or potential Oakland students going forward are interested in something like an Ethics Bowl, how can they get involved with the team?
Yeah, we host tryouts every year in March for the coming academic year. We also do recruitment at Grizz Fest, which is our fall student activities fair. If anyone's interested, they can reach out to Lisa or myself, and we'll be happy to keep their name once tryouts come around.
Lisa, Erika, we thank you very much for joining us today on the Megacast. Anything else you'd like to say about the Ethics Bowl team at Oakland before we let you go?
I'd just like to encourage anybody who thought, wow, that sounds sort of interesting. We welcome all majors. We don't necessarily focus on philosophy majors. In fact, we only have 2 philosophy majors and a philosophy minor, I believe, this semester. We have had all kinds of people from all different backgrounds, especially those that want to go into law school, medical school, graduate school, because it really does help develop the ability to think critically, which is the next step in advanced education.
Well, we thank you both for joining us and appreciate your time telling us more about the Ethics Bowl team.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Coach Lisa Campbell and team president Erika Luft from the Oakland University Ethics Bowl team. Of course, on November 6th, as I said, they won their, finished third in a field of 18 teams in the regional competition tournament, earning a spot at the National Ethics Bowl tournament, and that will occur in Cincinnati in February of 2022. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll be joined by Metro Detroit musician Jill Jack to talk about some of her upcoming concerts throughout the month of September. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
a rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe here in our studios in Oakland County, although we're broadcasting all throughout the state of Michigan on the Megacast, both our Oakland County hour from 10 a.m. to 11 and our Michigan hour, 11 o'clock to noon. Learn more information on our website at civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Joining us now, you've probably seen her all throughout the Metro Detroit area performing at a number of different music venues. It's Jill Jack, local musician, with us now on the Megacast. Jill, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So you grew up locally. Your background, you grew up in Huntington Woods, what drew you to music, and how did your music career develop right here in our community?
Well, actually, we always had music. It sounds cliche, but there was music in our house for sure. I grew up with a family of 5 kids, and my mom always had music on. And we used to, pretend and act and do these little plays and things like that. And then in grade school, started in a church group. All my sisters, we each got a guitar when we were 9, whether we wanted one or not. And my mom's role said we had to each teach each other at least a couple chords. So then we played in church, and kind of in high school, I put it aside. And, I think, at least I thought every kid would want to be in a band. And I used to pretend all the time. But then in my 20s, it became reality when I dropped out of nursing school and started singing in clubs. And it just went from one thing to another. And I started writing my own material. And well, here I am 12 albums later. And, it's been an incredible ride. I've had an incredible career.
So you mentioned taking a little bit of a break from music when you were in high school, but ultimately you were drawn back to it. You write your own music. When did you get back into music more regularly? When did you start writing your own material?
So when I dropped out of college, I ended up, actually, I was at a bar with a friend of mine, and the singer came up and was flirting with her and said, "What song would you like to hear?" And she said, "Well, I like to hear this song, but I want her to sing it." And that got me on stage, and it was just a passion right then and there. I realized I did have a calling for this, and I joined quite a few bands as a backup singer. But then I realized I kind of started closet writing. I always wrote journals. I wrote poetry as a kid, but I started considering myself seriously in my 20s and stepped out on my own. And when I did that, everything blossomed and it seemed like doors started to open. It's hard work. It was very hard work to keep a band together for 25 years, to do your own albums, to be your own marketing person, your own manager and everything else. But it was such a huge passion for me that I couldn't imagine it any other way.
We're joined by musician Jill Jack today on the Megacast. You can find more information about everywhere that we broadcast and view all of our interviews on demand by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com/Megacast. And so for you, being that you write your own material, you perform it as well, the creative process is different for every musician, for every artist of every kind. For you, in the writing process of your music, where does it start and what's the general timeline of how a song comes together from the onset of an idea that you have to a full song that's ready and complete?
Well, my favorite is when I get a quick idea, I sit down, I write it, it's over in 10 minutes. That's my favorite way. And usually those are my strongest songs. I can't say I don't spend a lot of time on a song developing it, but what happens is you can't get in the way of it. This is what I always tell up-and-coming writers. Let it flow through, even if it doesn't make sense. If they don't get it, watch the Beatles documentary right now. You can see how the process works. Everyone's different, though. There's some artists who will sit and write for years on one song. I can't do that. It would never be done. I have to finish my song. So if an idea comes up, sometimes it might just be, one time it was a ding of a computer bell, and it stimulated an entire song. Other times it's something someone says and I write that down, or I read something in a book that just a line of some sentence you just have to stay totally open as an artist for the signs and for ideas. And literally I told people you could write a song about any word, anything, and just, make a song out of it. It's not easy. I won't say it's easy, but and I also play guitar, so I accompany myself that way as well.
So you have described your music as quote unquote Americana. What does that mean to you? Because that's got a pretty broad definition in all forms of art and all forms of life. But in music, and for you specifically, Jill, what does Americana mean in the context of your art?
So Americana drives a lot of the industry, the music industry, crazy, because it is wide range. But That's who I am. And the minute Americana came out, it started being okay to use that. It actually fits what I do. So I have had the pleasure of opening for Loretta Lynn. I've also had the pleasure of opening for Bob Seger. I've also had the pleasure of working with folk artists, blues artists, jazz artists. I write all over the spectrum. Somewhere in the history of music, we had to be defined. And that didn't work well for me because songs came out of me. I didn't want to just write one thing. I didn't want to change my song to fit a genre. And the good thing about it is when you have audience members and they're like, oh, I heard your country. And I'm like, well, that song might be country, but stick around. I got a blues song for you in 10 minutes. And so with the audience, it's kind of like you please everyone. And I really enjoy having that freedom.
We're joined by Jill Jack, local musician, today on the Megacast. And so the COVID-19 pandemic affected different artists, especially musicians, in many different ways. For you, how did the COVID-19 pandemic not only affect the ways that you were able to perform and able to continue your career, but also your approach to your art after all the shutdowns and while we're still continuing in the COVID-19 pandemic?
That was probably the hardest part of my life. I'm so used to, my life was always full-fledged, running like crazy, booked everywhere. We had incredible 2019 year. We were all set with a full calendar. I didn't realize how much I run until the pandemic pulled the rug from me. And a lot of people said to me, oh, well, now you'll be able to sit and write. Well, actually, it didn't work that way for me. I could not write. I wrote maybe a couple songs during the entire process. I actually went to painting. I started painting just to relieve the stress of not being able to work. But I also learned a lot about Zoom and a lot about technology, which is not my favorite thing. I realized for me that I prefer people over technology. I realized for me as an artist, what was important to me was to reach people, to have that connection. So it was very difficult to sing into my computer or my phone and see these little things on Facebook, the hand clapping and the hearts. But eventually, I got used to it. And now we're easing back in, and I'm just taking it one day at a time.
So you've been inspired by a number of different ways of giving back to your community, but also to the greater good as well, including multiple trips, missionary trips to Haiti. Can you tell us a little bit about how those trips had influenced your approach to being a part of a community and giving back to the greater society?
Well, one of the things of being an artist is that you have to talk about yourself so much. I mean, you have to promote yourself. You have to tell people you're good so that they'll come and see you. You have to do all this stuff. And I got to the point where I just hit a wall, and I was so tired of promoting myself, and I wanted to do more. And I had, you can call it whatever your belief is, but I believe God whispered in my ear and was like, go to Haiti. And my husband's like, what? Why are you going to a third world country and do things here? Which I do a lot of. Nonprofit work with a lot of different charity organizations here in Michigan. But there was something that was calling me there, and I'm so glad I did. Yes, it was dangerous. No, I haven't been back in 2 years. I'm still in contact, and thank you for asking, because I have this little Haitian box that I made where I take donations during the holiday season, and have raised thousands and thousands of dollars for my Haitian friends, for my orphans that we've stayed with. It's an experience. I would recommend that anyone work with some sort of organization. To give of yourself is probably the biggest gift you can give to yourself. It brings you peace. You realize what's really important in life, and it makes you feel good. And you're doing something good for people. So this is why I do it. And I will continue to. I work with also Lost Voices, which is a an organization that works with women who have been affected by human trafficking. I've worked with Detroit Children's Choir. I work with a lot of different nonprofits, and it brings me joy. I think the only thing I'm lacking is time to try and get involved in everything. So, yeah, but I love it.
We're joined by Jill Jack, a musician, with us today on the Megacast, and other ways of giving back that you participate in. You have another effort you call Dream Big with Jill Jack. Tell us a little bit about that and how that helps people as well.
Well, Dream Big was it just popped in my head. And, I have a lot of people, mainly parents, that come up to me and say, my daughter or my son is interested in getting into music. And, we're being approached by all these people who want all this money. And I'm like, hold it. So I realized that I wanted to start a company that could help artists of all. It started out just musicians, but actually my first client was a nonprofit who needed help. And so I'm kind of there to, people have pegged me as a cheerleader. You come to me, you tell me your biggest dream. I tell you it's possible. I tell you you can make it happen. And we figure out ways that you're standing in. A lot of people block themselves. They sabotage their opportunities because they're afraid of failure. And so, I was there as a musician. I know what it's like to be afraid to put yourself out there and be rejected and think that your dream could be, ruined. But so I really, really have fun with it. And I have a range of clients from 12 years old to 78 years old. I have a 70-some-year-old woman who wanted to record a song that she wrote 50 years ago. And it's actually on Spotify now, and her grandkids get to listen to it. So there's just, it's really fun for me to observe someone and realize it's kind of like a puzzle. What are they missing? What do they need? And how can I help them?
We're joined by Jill Jack, local musician, joining us today on the Megacast, and is also currently holding her Jill Jack Celebrates the Holidays Tour 2021. Tell us a little bit about what people can expect if they attend one of your concerts on the tour.
Well, it is going to be so fun. And I think right now, it's kind of, it's difficult as an artist to, promote your shows where we've got so much going on in Michigan right now, as far as the sadness and of the shootings that just happened. But I think my role is to lift people. And I've always told my audience, okay, look around, close your eyes, realize for the next 2 hours, we're going to be in a private little bubble and just feeling peace and joy and fun and happiness. I want to bring joy to people. And we're going to be doing twists of Christmas carols. And I know some people are like, oh my God, I'm so over Christmas songs. But no, we put a really fun twist to each song. And I know, obviously, we've been doing it now for over 10 years, I think, and maybe even longer. And everybody leaves uplifted, and that's my job. That's what I got to do. So I'm excited for it.
Well, Jill, we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us, telling us a lot about your music career, giving some advice to other musicians who may be looking to further their passion or further engage with their passion, and telling us, of course, about your tour as well.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Jill. You can learn more information about Jill Jack's music, as well as find all of her shows, including her Jill Jack Celebrates the Holidays Tour 2021 shows, by visiting her website at jilljack.com. We're going to take a quick break on your radio homes for the Megacast. 89.3 WBLD, Orchard Lake, West Bloomfield, Kego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and on 88.1 WBFH, Bloomfield Hills. A programming note, we are going to extend our Megacast coverage today just a little bit past 12 noon on Civic Center TV, on our website at civiccentertv.com, as well as we have news coming in now that Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald will be providing updates and potentially announcing charges or no charges, whatever the office has decided, against the parents of the Oxford High School shooter from Tuesday at 12 noon in a press conference. So we will continue our coverage with that press conference. We will bring that to you live at 12 noon. And here on our network of of stations that are with us live. We're going to continue our broadcast on Civic Center TV, which is Comcast, Channel 15, and AT&T, Channel 99 in West Bloomfield, Kegel Harbor, Orchard Lake, and Sylvan Lake, and some immediate surrounding areas that may pick us up. And then also on our website, civiccentertv.com. 89.3 FM in the greater West Bloomfield area and some surrounding areas. Live streaming online anywhere on lakesfm.com. We'll continue on Facebook via Facebook Live on Civic Center TV 15 and Lakes FM on Facebook as well, so that you will be able to see that as it comes in. And we have news coming in from Tanya Wilt of the Detroit Free Press announcing again that Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald is expected to provide an update on the ongoing investigation into Tuesday's shooting at Oxford High School. She will be holding a press conference from the Oakland County offices in Pontiac at 12 noon. She announced charges earlier on in the week against a 15-year-old Oxford High School student who, of course, perpetrated the shooting on Tuesday, and said she may pursue charges against both of his parents, and additional charges would be made swiftly should that happen. She's expected to announce that whether or not she will be pressing those charges or not today at 12 noon, as yesterday during a press conference update alongside Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard, Oakland County Executive David Coulter, and others, when asked about potential charges against the shooter's parents, had said that decision, one way or another, would have been made within 24 hours of that press conference. So we will have that again for you at 12 noon. We'll continue only on our flagships, Civic Center TV and Lakes FM, and on our Facebook page, Civic Center TV 15 and facebook.com/Lakes FM, and on our website at civiccentertv.com. In the meantime, still a lot of the Megacast left for you today on our regular show. Coming up next, we'll kick off the 11 o'clock hour with Mayor Ethan Baker from the city of Troy. He's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal. the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. You can view more information about everywhere we broadcast the Megacast live and live to tape Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, as well as find all of our full shows and individual interviews online on our website at civiccentertv.com by clicking on our Megacast link or just typing in civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Joining us now from the city of Troy is their Mayor, Ethan Baker, back with us once again on the Megacast. Mayor Baker, thank you for being with us.
Hey, Tyler, thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. So let's start off with the situation in Oxford and how that's affecting our schools. It's been affecting our schools all throughout Oakland County over the last couple of days with many school districts. Yesterday, I believe Sheriff Bouchard said upwards of 60 schools and some entire school districts were shutting down in-person learning, or we're just calling days off altogether for Thursday, and some for both Thursday and Friday due to copycat threats. Troy schools, along with numerous other county districts, were among those closed Thursday amid those precautions. How was the decision made to cancel school? Was there any discussion between the school district and the city in terms of additional protections or assistances that were going to be needed given the situation in Oxford and the copycat threats and other incidents popping up as a result?
Sure. First, let me just start by saying the city of Troy, our entire city and community, I mean, our hearts bleed for our brothers and sisters up in Oxford, for what their families are going through. It's a unbearable situation for any of us to have to contemplate going through, and to have it be so close to home here, really, it really is, it's opened the eyes of our community again to something that, city officials and law enforcement certainly are aware of all the time of the potential risk, but it did definitely brought it close to home for people to really think about. So, but our hearts are with Oxford and our prayers and everything we can do to help them. And it's just awful. The whole county, the whole area is really affected by this. As for the specifics of, Troy, how we've handled things. Troy was closed yesterday. Troy School District closed yesterday. They're also closed today. They closed today not because of credible threats for today, was my understanding after speaking with the superintendent, but more as giving an opportunity to regroup and kind of figure out how to move forward. There can be students in classrooms, but not always a lot of learning happens if there's some traumatic event. And so I think they really needed this time to try to figure out how to best come back, and they'll do that next week. City of Troy, from the police department standpoint, already, is in our Troy schools, we have arrangements with them and we provide resource officers to them. And certainly on Wednesday, the day after the shooting in Oxford, there was an increased police presence at both Troy High School and Athens High School. I happened to be at Athens High School to meet with the choir of all things. And there were several Troy police cars out in the parking lot and around. So city works very closely with the school district to provide the safety for our students and to just be whatever kind of a resource we can.
We're joined by Mayor Ethan Baker of the city of Troy, joining us today on the Megacast. In terms of other discussions with the superintendent of Troy schools, have you, the superintendent, and the police chief in Troy, have there been any discussions about when school does resume in person in Troy, having any additional security measures that may be in place for students, for staff, for faculty, and visitors?
Well, I'm very cautious to talk about, police work in general. That's something that's frowned upon from a security standpoint. But I will say, of course, the school district and the city are absolutely in lockstep on how best to protect our students and their teachers. And measures, of course, will be taken. And, we're already very proud of the work we do to protect our schools and the relationship we have with our school resource officers and the school district together. So it will continue to be a good relationship. And naturally, as we're dealing with all of these copycat threats and all of there was a credible threat on Snapchat specifically related to Troy late Wednesday night, which is the quick and easy reason for Troy to close on Thursday. But City of Troy's on top of it. Police department and superintendent, school board, everyone, we're all on the same page. The safety and protection of our children and the teachers is number one.
We're joined by Mayor Ethan Baker of the City of Troy, joining us today on the Megacast. And Mayor Baker, in times like this, and even in happier times as well, it continues to be important for the community to engage with one another, to make some positive memories, if not to take their mind briefly off of the traumas of the times, but also to encourage that unity that is so important in times of trauma and times of trouble like this. Recently, the menorah lighting and gelt drop. Recently we had other events in Troy and in neighboring areas to begin celebrating the holidays. This Sunday, there's going to be the menorah lighting and gelt drop Sunday afternoon in Troy. Can you tell us a little bit about those events and what people can expect if they come into Troy to experience those?
Absolutely. I mean, we do have the Chabad Jewish Center of Troy is doing and hosting a ice menorah lighting and gelt drop on Sunday at 5 o'clock on our Civic Center campus. Parking at the Troy Community Center is the best place. It'll be just to the north of the community center. And also, I will talk more about that in 1 second because I'm very proud of the fact that we're doing this. But tonight actually is our Christmas tree lighting out in front of City Hall at Veterans Plaza, 6:30 p.m. We'll have the Athens High Choir singing. Santa's going to come, and we're lighting up our Christmas tree. But it's interesting. We just celebrated Diwali in the city of Troy. Our city hall was lit up. We really are proud of the cultural differences we have in this city, and to be able to celebrate the different holidays at the various times of the year is extremely something that I'm proud to do as the mayor. But it's hard to do celebrations or to talk about celebrations with all that's going on. But there has to be a balance, and we really do believe the light always outshines the darkness, and it's important to bring light to a community and to support and raise them up. And we feel that we can do that by having our Christmas tree lighting tonight and having some good choir music, and Sunday at the ice menorah and gelt drop. These are the community events that bring people together and help them unify around something. And we hope that positivity can radiate out here and go up north to Oxford, frankly.
We're joined by Mayor Ethan Baker today on the Megacast. We mentioned the Holiday Light Tour. For those that haven't participated before or have participated in other cities and maybe not in Troy, what's unique or what's special about the Holiday Lighting Tour in your city, Mayor?
It's something we kind of brought back. I think it was last year, maybe the year before, actually. And it's anybody can be nominated. You can nominate anybody on the City of Troy website, and you actually have until Monday. I think nominations close. And we've got a great team in the Community Affairs Department that puts together an interactive map for a self-guided tour. And we put lawn signs out for the residents. It's just, I think it's important for people to get out in their community, in their neighborhoods, to have an opportunity to go into a different subdivision maybe, and to see the beauty of the Christmas lights and holiday lights. And there's never, people are never disappointed to see holiday lights. I think it's always a good feeling. You notice they're on much earlier and they stay on much later than they used to. I think it's because people genuinely like them. But our holiday tour, I'm not specifically going to say it's unique compared to anybody else's, but it's absolutely a great experience out in our city. And I'd love to be able to highlight different neighborhoods, different houses, and to see the good work that people do.
So, of course, last week with the Thanksgiving holiday, immediately after, on the Friday after Thanksgiving, it's a big shopping day, and it kind of kicks off that holiday shopping season. And of course, Troy is a big place that people go for the holiday shopping and for shopping in general throughout the year. With businesses mostly being back to somewhat normal operations and being back, or at least back in person for those shopping opportunities. This year, as opposed to where we were a year ago, how's that holiday shopping been kicking off in Troy for all those businesses that are back at it in the many different locations across the city this year?
Yeah, I mean, definitely cylinders are operating at all levels. I mean, people are out, and you can see it whether you're at Somerset or whether you're a smaller shop along any of our major thoroughfares. People are shopping in person. We've had a really big push for Shop Local, for Small Business Saturday. We, in fact, did a proclamation in Troy. We called it Small Business Saturday to Saturday for a full week, or really 8 days, I guess, because it's not just about shopping small businesses on that one Saturday. Spend the whole week doing it. And I think we've had some success with that. And people love getting out. I know Oakland County has put a big focus on that as well this year. So people are in the store shopping. Obviously, they're online shopping too, because I can see packages on doorsteps all over getting delivered. But we are certainly with Somerset, a shopping mecca for so many. And I buy there frequently, and it's packed. It's the Christmas season, and people are shopping. And I know Somerset has done an excellent job of making sure there's a safe place to shop. They've got all of they're beautifully appointed, obviously, with the decorations, but they're also making sure people are safe, and people feel safe when they're there. Because there can also be crime this time of year. People are desperate, and it's a great partnership we have with Somerset to make sure that people have a great place to shop.
So when you assess the year of 2021 for the city of Troy, being that 2020 was such a difficult year for many cities, how would you assess 2021 as a year of adjustment, as a year of continued change because of the pandemic?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think if you would have asked me a few months ago what I thought 2021 was as a whole, I would have answered a little differently. Certainly, we see COVID playing a much larger role now than we thought it was going to earlier in the year. At this point, certainly, I mean, the economy in Troy continues to be strong. There's been restaurant closings and business closings for sure, but there's still been a ton of openings. I think I've done about 40 ribbon cuttings of new businesses in the city of Troy this year. So even in these uncertain times, people are coming into Troy and starting a new business. And I think that's a wonderful thing for all of us. The city, from a financial standpoint, has done really well this year. And, we're very proud of that stewardship that we've taken on, and we'll continue to use those tax dollars wisely. But, really, to me, it's about the people in our community and how everybody's doing. And, I think this year was a much better year than last year, not just because of COVID, but because of, it wasn't a political year. I mean, what didn't have a partisan election this year, so there wasn't as much division that way. People just kind of focus on why they love Troy, why they love being in Troy and living in Troy, and we could have better conversations with, I think, our neighbors and our friends, and it was less divisive, despite all the division going on in the country still. I'm really proud of the coming together that the city of Troy continually does.
We're joined by Mayor Ethan Baker of the city of Troy, joining us today on the Megacast. Mayor, just another few minutes with you before we'll say goodbye. Anything else that you want the audience to keep in mind of what's going on in the city of Troy, or exciting things coming up that we should be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, so many of you know Troy for Somerset, and if Ronnie was here, she would have asked about it probably before you, Tyler. But, we're more than just Somerset. I love Somerset, but, we've amazing mom and pop restaurants and shops and recreation. We've got 1,000 acres of parks, and I want people to always enjoy them. Certainly our residents enjoy them, but it's nice when people come into our city, whether they're traveling in for business or for pleasure, or just our neighboring communities, to come in and share some of the resources we have there. We love to share in the city of Troy, and, we're really proud of who we are in this city and what we've got going on. And we know next year is going to be a big year for us as we make some changes to our parks and recreation plan and try to develop some new parks even. And also really focus on that city infrastructure that's so important to all of us. It's not as sexy or exciting as some things, but I'll tell you, when your water's not working right or when your roads are crumbling, you notice it right away. So we want to make sure we can always provide that great infrastructure. But I'm proud of the city of Troy. I'm proud of the people we have in this city who work hard, who live here, and who play hard. And I continue to think it's the best place in Michigan to live.
Well, Mayor, we appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Tyler. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. We wish you all the best, and please give Ronnie my best also.
Absolutely. Happy holidays to you as well, and good luck with the remainder of the year in Troy and going forward. You can learn more information about all things City of Troy at troymi.gov. Again, that is troymi.gov. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we will feature one of our great local nonprofits. We'll speak to Maggie Coco from the 501c3 nonprofit Girls Rock Detroit. Coming up next, you're watching and listening to the Megacast.
To Sofia and Gabriel, even even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Joining us now is Maggie Coco. She is the Board Secretary of Digital Programming with Girls Rock Detroit, joining us on the Megacast. Maggie, thank you for being with us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So tell us a little bit about Girls Rock Detroit. What is the mission of the organization, and what services do you provide in our community?
Yeah, so Girls Rock Detroit is a volunteer-run music and social justice-minded community for youth and adults. We have a yearly camp for youth, but we also have year-round programming, especially since the pandemic. We've expanded to digital programming for adults. We aim to be a community hub for fostering creative expression, positive self-esteem, community awareness for girls, women, gender expansive, and transgender people through music education and performance.
We're joined by Girls Rock Detroit's website. You can find more information by visiting the website at girlsrockdetroit.org. Again, that is girlsrockdetroit.org. You have an online event coming up actually tonight called Overcoming Anxiety and Killing It on Stage with Jackie Daniels. Tell us about that event, how people can participate, and what they can experience by attending that event.
We do. So this is an event that is for ages 12 and up. So anybody who has issues with issues with public speaking, issues with, of course, we cater to a lot of performers. So performance of any kind. It's about kind of quelling those inner voices that can disrupt when you're trying to articulate yourself in front of an audience. About building confidence, very much kind of in line with our mission statement. And Jackie is a phenomenal performer herself. She has the Jackie Daniels Show that tours around. She's Detroit-based, but is around the U.S. And a lot of our instructors are touring musicians and Detroit-based, but also world-based performers. So we have a lot of really good things coming up.
Your mission on girlsrockdetroit.org on the nonprofit's website. It says it's a community organization dedicated to fostering creative expression, positive self-esteem, and community awareness for girls, women, gender expansive, and transgender people through music education and performance. So what are some of the ways, or what are some of the benefits? It's probably a better way to frame this. What are some of the benefits of music education and performance in fostering some of those positive attributes in a wide range of people that you serve?
So music education, music in general, requires a lot of vulnerability and soul searching. And when you come into a space, so what we strive to do is to create a very safe space for people to explore these themes. And through the exploration of these themes, not only do they meet other people that are like-minded and also trying to explore these themes, but they open themselves up to exploring these themes within themselves so they can build community and grow confidence in that way.
We're joined by Maggie Coco. She is the Girls Rock Detroit Board Secretary of Digital Programming with us today on the Megacast. Again, they have an event coming up tonight, Overcoming Anxiety and Killing It on Stage with Jackie Daniels. That's coming up tonight, December 9th. There's another online event, Girls Rock Detroit's Digital Volunteer Appreciation Hangout. What can people expect to experience at that event, and who is that for?
Yeah, so that is for anybody who is interested in our mission. So anybody who is at all interested in seeing what kind of volunteer opportunities we have coming up, what kinds of community events we have coming up. You'll learn about the GRD Book Club, where we talk about music and social justice-minded literature. You'll hear about camp volunteer opportunities. You'll hear about our upcoming workshops, and you'll get to meet other people that are interested in the same things.
Again, you can learn more information about Girls Rock Detroit and all of their events, as well as other ways that you can get involved with the nonprofit organization by visiting their website at girlsrockdetroit.org. Again, girlsrockdetroit.org. Another event that's coming up also December 15th, guitar accompaniment for singer-songwriters. What will people that are interested in songwriting or interested in being singer-songwriters be able to learn from that event? And what sort of benefits in line with your mission come from developing that multifaceted skill of being able to both write and perform your own original songs?
Oh, thanks. That's a deep question this time. Jess Julian, who has got her degree at Oakland U, but is now living and working in Nashville. She's going to be leading that workshop, and they are a fantastic guitarist. I am very excited to have Jess leading a workshop that is catered to people like me, because I'm a singer-songwriter, but from a vocalist standpoint. And so this one kind of spoke to my personal background in music when I started to play out as a musician, and I wanted to self-accompany as opposed to relying on other people. So this speaks to my personal journey of starting from where my strengths are as a musician and developing them into the musician that I am today, a lot more versatile, a lot more independent. So this is a bit of a targeted workshop towards people who are songwriters, but are not necessarily people who feel very comfortable self-accompanying on the guitar. And Jess is going to do a fantastic job of sort of guiding you from being able to play very simple chords to making a really nice arrangement of your music. And yeah, it's all about self-confidence and upskilling.
So as the board secretary of digital programming, of course, all these virtual events coming up, the one tonight, Overcoming Anxiety and Killing It on Stage with Jackie Daniels, the event on December 9th, Girls Rock Detroit's Digital Volunteer Appreciation Hangout, and of course the 15th guitar accompaniment for singer-songwriters. All those are great digital programs, specialty programs that are available through online events. But there are other general programs that are always available or are available throughout the year to those that Girls Rock Detroit serves. Tell us a little bit about some of those programs that are consistently ongoing and how other people can get involved in those programs.
Right, so we have 1 or 2 digital workshops going on each month, or digital workshop series. So in the new year, we've got ones coming up on DIY touring for musicians. We've got one coming up on protest music, so both breaking down the history of music in protest and also how to write your own protest songs. We have, so more things in that vein, and you can find out more about that on our website. What was the question? The rest of the question again?
How can people get involved in those different programs that are ongoing if they're interested, and if they are within the confines of the people that you provide these services to?
Oh, totally. So our providers, our public-facing people, are going to be sort of vetted women and gender-expansive persons for the sake of creating our safe spaces, but anybody is welcome to participate, to be on the receiving end of these services.
We're joined by Maggie Coco. She is the Girls Rock Detroit Board Secretary for Digital Programming, joining us on the Megacast. Again, you can learn more information about Girls Rock Detroit, 501c3 nonprofit that's been serving our community since February of 2016 as a 501c3 by visiting their website, girlsrockdetroit.org. Again, that is girlsrockdetroit.org, and this organization serves girls, women, gender expansive, and transgender people through education, music education and performance as well. So, of course, yesterday was Giving Tuesday. We're in the holiday season. We're coming up on the end of the year. People are looking right now quite aggressively in comparison to throughout the rest of the year in a general sense to give to great organizations that are helping people in our communities here in southeastern Michigan and all throughout the state of Michigan as well. In terms of fundraising or in terms of need through volunteer action or other resources right now, what are the greatest needs for Girls Rock Detroit so people can support another great nonprofit we have here in Michigan?
Thanks for asking. So we have volunteer opportunities that you can find out about by attending the volunteer meeting or by signing up for our newsletter. But we have a special sort of push happening right now. We have an apparel fundraiser, our GRD community fundraiser, featuring 2 shirts, a Detroit branded logo by one of our own. Nicole Mallory designed this shirt, so you'd be supporting local artists and Girls Rock Detroit by purchasing this shirt, or an Ask Me About Detroit brand shirt, which I also recommend because that gets the word out there. Hopefully, if you're the kind of person that likes to talk and you wear this shirt, someone will come up and ask you about Detroit music.
You can learn more information, of course, as we've mentioned before, on girlsrockdetroit.org. That is girlsrockdetroit.org for more information on how you can get involved, programs that are running throughout the year for women, girls, gender expansive and transgender people, other community resources that are provided as well, and how you can donate to the organization. Also, again, girlsrockdetroit.org. And in terms of volunteer opportunities, as you're providing this music education and these performance opportunities, you need people that can help provide that education, that can help provide those outlets for music opportunities. If people are interested in getting involved, what are some of those volunteer opportunities that are available at this time or become available regularly throughout the year?
So at this time, we're looking for potential workshop instructors for the digital programming ongoing. We're booking out into 2022. And we're also looking for persons who might be interested in being a techie, which would be a person who sits on the Zoom calls and makes sure that everything runs for everybody else, and you get a free workshop, so that's cool. We have some in-person programming coming up in the new year, but it's still a little bit fuzzy on what that's going to look like because, with COVID, we kind of play things by ear a little bit. So it's best to just tune in to our newsletter and our website to find out more about in-person opportunities.
Again, you can go to their website to keep up to date on all of that by visiting girlsrockdetroit.org. You can also follow them on many social media on Facebook, facebook.com/girlsrockdetroit, on Twitter, twitter.com/girlsrockdet or at Girls Rock DET, and follow them on Instagram as well, Girls Rock Detroit. Again, all of those also linked on the website, as well as applications if you want to participate as a volunteer, participate in their camp, join their board of directors, and other opportunities as well, including surveys. That's girlsrockdetroit.org/applications. girlsrockdetroit.org/applications. We're joined by their board secretary of digital programming, official Maggie Coco, on the Megacast. Girls Rock Detroit recently received MCA, CA, and a Kresge Foundation funding, and the plans are for that to include greater board development and ultimately finding a permanent space for Girls Rock Detroit programming. Right now, what are the goals with this funding that's come in? What are you looking for in a permanent space? And what are some other ways that, on top of this funding, the community can help provide this resource to this organization?
Sure. So we have funding that's come in from the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs that is to go directly towards our development as a board. And so for the first time, Girls Rock Detroit has a board that doesn't include any of the founding members. And a lot of our board members are people for whom this is their first time being on a board. So this board development is also going to growing Detroit natives and Detroit-based creatives who are sort of stepping into those roles for the first time. So we're bringing in counsel for the development of these administrative persons, and we're also, as you mentioned, looking for a permanent space. So Girls Rock has been at Wayne State, we've been at churches, we've been at DIME, the Detroit Institute of Music Education. So we're getting to the point where we'd really like to have a permanent space that functions as our hub, and so we have the funding to be looking for that. So if anybody hears of a good space, let us know.
We're joined by Maggie Coco, Girls Rock Detroit's board secretary and digital programming official, joining us on the Megacast. You can learn more information again at girlsrockdetroit.org. And again, Maggie, you mentioned on the front of trying to find permanent space for Girls Rock Detroit programming. You said if anyone knows of any good spaces or has some spaces they'd be willing to provide to Girls Rock Detroit, that they should reach out and contact your organization. What would be the best way for them to go about doing that if they'd like to help?
Definitely do it through the website. We've got all of our contact information there. Website.
Again, their website for all that contact information. You can fill out a contact form right there, girlsrockdetroit.org/contact, or send them an email directly, info@girlsrockdetroit.org. That's info@girlsrockdetroit.org. Maggie, just another few minutes with you. Anything else about Girls Rock Detroit you'd like to mention today, or any other events or programs or any other topics that we haven't touched on today that you'd like to discuss?
You've been so thorough. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Just that we're really trying to grow, and so we like people's input. You know, if you're drawn to the organization, if there's anything that you'd like to see from the organization, and what would benefit you and your community. If our mission appeals to you, then help us kind of go all the way and come to you, because we're growing, we're building, we're developing, and we're community oriented, community based. We're entirely volunteer run, so we thrive off this feedback. It really helps us to know what our community needs and where we're going with it.
Maggie, thank you very much for joining us, telling us more about these upcoming events, including tonight's Overcoming Anxiety and Killing It on Stage with Jackie Daniels, and 2 other events on December 9th and on December 15th, respectively, and all things Girls Rock Detroit.
Thanks so much.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. childcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. We're broadcasting all throughout the state of Michigan on a number of different community television and radio stations, as well as online on civiccentertv.com and on My Michigan TV. Learn more information, civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Joining us now is Senator Gary Peters, one of the two U.S. senators representing the state of Michigan. Senator Peters, thank you for being with us today.
With you.
Glad to have you back once again. I wish we were starting our conversation on in better times and under better circumstances. Of course, had the horrific shootings here in Oakland County, where we originated our broadcast, at Oxford High School on Tuesday, and many of our representatives at the state level in Lansing and at the federal level in Washington, D.C., both our representatives and yourself, had made several statements over the last couple days in session regarding the shooting. In terms of action, I think that's what the community of Oxford and what our greater community here in Oakland County and across the state of Michigan is really curious about at this point in time. Being that happened so recently and that it affects us here in the state of Michigan, what have you and the rest of the delegation on both sides of the aisle from the state of Michigan, what discussions have been had, if any, so far about changes in policy or at least discussions that could be opened on gun violence, on mental health issues, and other related issues that ultimately impact the school shooting issue here in the U.S.?
Well, certainly we just witnessed another horrific, tragic event in Oxford. Our hearts go out to all of the families. I can't imagine the pain that they're in right now, and we certainly do need to take action. We have to have serious discussions about how we limit gun violence, not just in schools, but throughout our society. This is something that I continue to talk about, continue to press, and I think it's very important. If you're looking at gun safety issues, for example, and this is not just about the horrific events at Oxford, but yesterday, roughly 100 people died of gun violence yesterday. Today, roughly 100 people will die of gun violence again today and tomorrow. We have to deal with the issue. We have to put common sense gun laws in place for safety, and that means background checks, making sure we're closing loopholes, doing everything we can to keep weapons out of the hands of folks who simply should not have those weapons in their hands. And this is an issue that is hitting us every single day, which is why it is so frustrating that we're not able to move that type of legislation forward. I fully support it. We got to get it on the floor and have those kinds of votes. But as you mentioned, there are also issues related to mental health issues, counseling, to be able to make sure that we're intervening in individuals who may be showing warning signs that they may engage in violent behavior. I think the important thing for us to remember is there's no one simple answer here. This is an incredibly complex situation, but it requires a serious, thoughtful discussion, and we need to take meaningful action, not just for what happened in Oxford, as horrible as that is, but understand we're going to see more of these events in the future if we don't take action. And there are a number of common sense things that we must do, and I fully support, and we're going to keep pushing for them.
We're joined by U.S. Senator Gary Peters on the Megacast. Senator Peters, also on another note, President Biden recently signed a number of different bipartisan infrastructure laws that include $500 million in funding for the STORM Act, the Safeguarding Tomorrow Through Ongoing Risk Mitigation that you authored. Can you tell us a little bit about the STORM Act and how it will benefit local communities here in Michigan?
Well, I'm pleased that legislation that I wrote and passed in the Senate earlier this year was included in this bipartisan infrastructure package in terms of funding. The STORM Act is related to what we're seeing happen on an ongoing basis, which are increased storms and the severity of those storms as a result of climate change. Certainly in Michigan, we've seen major storm events and major flooding throughout the state that is a result of storms that continue to hit us. When you start seeing 100-year storms happening every few years and 500-year storms happening, we know that we need to be better prepared. And the way to prepare for that is to make sure that our infrastructure is designed to handle the severity of the storms that we are seeing. So the STORM Act is straightforward. It is a revolving fund that provides resources to local communities to invest in strengthening their infrastructure to prevent things like flooding. These are great investments from a taxpayer perspective, in the fact that we know every dollar we invest up front in making our infrastructure more resilient, you end up saving $6 to the taxpayers. It's a whole lot cheaper to build the infrastructure strong at the front end than try to pick up all of the pieces after a storm and have a major disaster on your hands. So that was passed earlier this year, and in this infrastructure package, a first tranche of $500 million was allocated to that program. That money will be available for local communities across the state of Michigan to be able to tap into. And then as they pay those funds back, it's a revolving fund, so that means that money will be available for other communities. So we're hoping that this initial investment will be just that, an initial investment. We'll continue to see more investment in this into the storm fund, and as a result, save hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer money while doing the right thing by investing up front.
Senator Peters, we've also heard a lot of debate about the Build Back Better Act, which has also it's passed the House and it's now being debated in the Senate. What are some ways that this bill will cut costs for workers and for families here in the state of Michigan?
Well, I'm glad you put it that way, because it's exactly what it does. It's about reducing costs for families and dealing with some of the real tough issues that families have to deal with every day. One aspect that is particularly important, not only just to reduce cost to a family, but also help the demands of the workforce and the need for a workforce. We are seeing worker shortages right now. And one major problem that families face is the lack of affordable daycare, particularly for women. We see more women leaving the workforce and not returning to the workforce because of challenges that their families face with having affordable quality daycare. That is part of the Build Back Better program, is to make sure that that's available and to help families afford that by reducing their costs, so that they know when they put their child in quality daycare, they can feel comfortable with that. It's safe and a quality experience. And they can also be in the labor force. And related to that is to make universal pre-kindergarten, so that students can get into an educational setting prior to kindergarten. We know, one, that's really great for taxpayers again. For those programs have huge returns on investment, that people who are in pre-K tend to be much more successful later in life. But it also helps families reduce cost and be able to afford having that kind of quality of services available for their children. But there are also other aspects for senior citizens to reduce the cost of drugs. Folks who are also taking insulin with diabetic medicines. Insulin now will be capped, so it's affordable for folks. This legislation is about reducing cost. It's also about making sure that we have a 21st century workforce that can work and continue to grow our economy and create even better paying jobs in the future.
We're joined by U.S. Senator Gary Peters on the Megacast. And Senator Peters, earlier this week in Taylor, you hosted a roundtable with the U.S. Secretary of Commerce about the ongoing semiconductor shortage and the ways that that's affecting our auto industry. What came out of that roundtable discussion, and particularly for Michigan, being that our industries here are so automotive-centric on a large scale? How close are we to getting the automotive industry back on track for normal operations, given some of the shortages supply-wise that are affecting them?
Well, we do have significant supply shortages, and this is a significant problem, not just in the short run, but also in the long run. And bottom line, the reason for this is that we are overly dependent on foreign sources for critical materials. It's something that I illuminated back in 2019 with drug shortages, that we were overly dependent on China and other Asian countries for medical supplies. And in 2019, that report that I authored, the conclusion was when there is a pandemic, the United States will find itself in a precarious situation. Unfortunately, just a few months after that report, we learned, unfortunately, that is indeed the case. But it extends not just to medical supplies, but other critical supplies, and right now, semiconductors, which are in every one of our automobiles. As we speak, there are cars just sitting in the lot at our manufacturers that are built, with the exception of chips, which need to be inserted. And as a result of that, we've seen production slowdowns and people being laid off. We need to get more transparency there, and that's what the Secretary talked about, so we can get a better sense in the short run. But what she was really there for was to push for the passage of legislation that I worked to get included into the Senate package for competitiveness, which is to make sure that we can onshore manufacturing, bring those jobs back to the United States to manufacture semiconductors here in the United States, both advanced semiconductors as well as the so-called legacy chips, which are in our automobiles. But they're not just in our automobiles, so they're also in washing machines, and nearly every product that we use. We need to make sure that we're making those here in the United States. We have inserted $52 billion to bring that manufacturing back to the United States. Secretary Raimondo was making the case as to how important it is that that legislation passes. It's passed the Senate. The language that I was able to get into the bill for legacy chips is out of the Senate and is now before the House of Representatives. And we're hoping we can find agreement with our House colleagues and get it passed quickly.
I'm joined by U.S. Senator Gary Peters today on the Megacast. Senator Peters, I know that we need to let you go here very soon. So before we do, I want to give you an opportunity to let us know anything else that we should be keeping in mind or any other news from your office in Washington, D.C., representing us here in Michigan, or anything else you'd like to say before we let you go.
Well, just briefly, the other issue that I'm focused on now is cybersecurity, and to make sure that we are protecting our cyber networks from attacks, particularly ransomware attacks that I know listeners have been hearing about. We've had some very high-profile attacks, most recently on a major pipeline, the Colonial Pipeline, which shut down operations as a result of an attack from an organization, a criminal organization. I've authored and passed through committee significant legislation for us to deal with this issue, to protect our communities, our critical infrastructure, but our small businesses. One particularly striking statistic is that over half of small businesses that get hit with a ransomware attack are out of business within 18 months. It is an existential threat that our small businesses face, as well as families, and I'm working to make sure we're addressing that through my work as chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee.
Well, Senator Peters, we thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. U.S. Senator Gary Peters joining us today on the Megacast. Again, I just want to give another programming update as we are normally 10 a.m. to 12 noon. We're going to end just a few minutes early at 11:55 today as we are anticipating a press conference from Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald coming up at 12 noon to give an update on the prosecution of the 15-year-old boy who perpetrated the shooting at Oxford High School on Tuesday, and to announce potential charges against his parents. We do have breaking news coming in right now as we are about 8 minutes away from the scheduled start time of that presser. Brian Larson, the assistant news director at WWJ News Radio 950, reporting that involuntary manslaughter charges have been filed against the suspect's parents in the Oxford High School shooting. So we're expecting to hear that and more specifics on those potential charges and any others that may be brought against the 15-year-old shooter's parents at 12 noon from Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald. But again, WWJ News Radio 950's Brian Larson, he is their assistant news director, reporting via Twitter 4 minutes ago that involuntary manslaughter charges have been filed against the parents of the shooter from Oxford High School on Tuesday. Again, 12 noon for that press conference. We'll keep it right here on our flagship stations on Civic Center TV, on Lakes FM, as well as on our website, civiccentertv.com, by clicking on our Watch Live link, by going to our Facebook pages, facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15 and facebook.com/LakesFM as well. We're going to, before we go, I just want to give out some resources for you as well. If you are in the wake of the Oxford shooting, there are plenty of resources out there to help. If you need someone to talk to, if you need resources for mental health or for counseling services, Common Ground, in partnership with our community, holds a 24/7 resource and crisis helpline. That helpline, 800-231-1127. Again, that is 800-231-1127. You can also provide tips anonymously. If you hear about something, you hear it all the time. If you see something, say something. If you hear something, say something. You can provide those tips anonymously through OK to Say. It is provided across the state of Michigan. You can learn more information about OK to Say by visiting michigan.gov/OK, the number 2, say. Michigan.gov/OK, the number 2, say. By calling 855-565-2729, 855-565-2729, texting 652-729, 652-729 with your tip, or emailing OK, the number 2, say, @mi.gov. There's also an OK to Say app for both iPhone and Android. If you'd like to provide your support to the community by paying respects to the victims of the shooting on Tuesday, there will be a number of different vigils throughout Oakland County over tonight and over the weekend. 6:45 tonight at the corner of Mill and South Street in downtown Ortonville. From 7:30 to 9 p.m. at the Ortonville United Methodist Church. Tomorrow, Saturday, December 4th, 10 a.m. at Signs for Oxford at Lake Point Community Church. December 4th, 6 p.m., a Royal Oak Candlelight Vigil will be held at Royal Oak Middle School on North Washington Avenue. Sunday, December 5th, 5 p.m. at St. Paul's United Methodist Church in Rochester, Candlelight Vigil. And Canterbury Village will be holding a Candlelight Vigil for Oxford 7 p.m. on Monday, December 6th at Canterbury Village in Orion Township. Donations can also be made through Oxford Bank in partnership with the Oxford Bank, Oxford Community Schools, and the Downtown Development Authority to the Oxford Community Memorial and Victims Fund. Learn more information, oxfordbank.com/donations, or send a check to Oxford Bank, P.O. Box 17, Oxford, Michigan 48371. You can also call Shelley P. at 248-969-7217 to learn more information. I would suggest going straight to the Oxford Bank website if you want to make a donation or learn more about donations to the Oxford Community Memorial and Victims Fund by going to oxfordbank.com/donations. That is it for today's edition of the Megacast. I want to give a big thank you to everyone for joining us. We'll be back Monday at 10 a.m. You've been listening and watching to the Megacast.